How you living, Guardians? Unseen Inquisitor here, and this is the hottest content in Destiny right now. Something everybody's been asking for: Fishing Simulator 1.0 in Destiny 2. Let's discuss it. Obviously, that's just roasting it and good fun. I don't think anybody ever wanted fishing in Destiny. Period. We wanted SRL, Spiral Racing League, but we got fishing. Okay, Season of the Deep. There's a theme that fits here. So how's it feel? How's it going for us in Destiny 2 fishing? Well, let's roast it a little bit more in good fun, and then discuss some thoughts on how it could be improved. Because while it is just awkward on a story narrative sense, it's a little clunky in execution. It works, but it's a little clunky. And honestly, at the end of the day, I really can't complain because, especially for newer lights, this is a great way to get your gearing up a little bit. So let's discuss, shall we? For the two of you that stumble across this, welcome, pull up a chair and share your thoughts. So, it's awkward, right? The Traveler has been rendered inert by the Witness who passed through the portal carved from the Traveler linked with the Veil. Our attempts to pursue have been met with a really bad failure, right? And that's no good. Shadow Legion forces still plague Neomuna and Earth. We have prisoner rescue still happening, and Neomuna needs help pushing back, of course, the Shadow Legion still. The rest of basically a second collapse is still happening and ongoing in this system, and of course, Titan being back, one of our first steps to try and pursue the Witness. We gotta help slowing out and Asa and all that jazz there. And there's this aquarium though, so Guardian, get the fish in it. It's not gonna fill itself. Like, that's such a weird narrative. But anyways, that aside though, while it is a little clunky, it is a great way to increase rank and do it with very little effort. So what am I getting at? Fishing is like being paid on the back end because you get bait for doing a lot of activities. The bait is used for fishing. Now, you don't need bait to fish, but if you want to get access to potentially catching the best stuff, you need bait. And the bait is kind of like paying you on the back end of doing an event, or not an event, doing an activity that says if you now go and do this, you have the potential to get more gear. Okay, cool. There are 4 levels of fish: uncommon, rare, legendary, and exotic. The uncommon and rare do not net you any gear that I've seen thus far. What they net you is seasonal vendor reputation, and that's a great way to bolster your reputation. Legendary fish give you legendary gear and reputation, and exotic fish, the 2 that I've caught because they're really rare to catch, have given me an exotic armor piece each. And reputation, I would have to imagine, my best guess is that it's going to give you exotic armor. I don't know if it will give you potentially a shard in its place, like an Ascendant shard or something, but so far it's been exotic armor, which is pretty cool. So nothing wrong with that. But getting all these things is a clunky business. We have 3 locations to fish. EDZ makes sense. Nessus makes no sense considering Radiolaria I thought was just Radiolaria, but whatever. Suspension of that. Let's fish there. And the Miasma section of Sabathun Stormworld, which isn't a good name for a place to go fishing. You definitely don't want to eat or possibly keep those fish, but there you go. Why does this matter? Well, it matters, A, change of scenery, cool. B, the exotic fishing hole rotates, I imagine. Right now it's on the EDZ as of this video, but it could be wherever next time. So want to keep track of that. That's going to be the most popular fishing hole. And C, it's in patrol territory, which means it is subject to being disrupted by public events. Now the EDZ one, no big deal. It's ether resupply, very quick to burn through. But Nessus has Glimmer Drill, which just takes time, and I believe Southern Strongworld gets the shortest stick because I think that place, I might have Ether Ritual for the Scorn, the Dark Ether Ritual, whatever, but I definitely know it has Escort the Payload, which takes forever. So it's really going to disrupt your fishing. And the ad potential insult to injury there. When the fishing pond returns, your focus fishing meter that you have been building up just by fishing and catching legendary fish or higher will be reset to 0. And that's the clunky nature of this, is how it is in competition with public events. Because I get it. Guardians are here to do public events, right? People still want to do them for whatever reasonings, or not, depending upon what they're doing and how they are as a guardian and where they're at. But you don't want to necessarily disable the public events in those areas that have fishing, because that seems excessive and extreme. But at the same time, it's also very disruptive to have the pond go away and then come back with 0 progress in the focus fishing department. And what happens is you're going to run into disruption of fishing group. Now, the more guardians that fish in a hole, the better, because the better chances of somebody catching a legendary or higher fish, which improves the fishing pond's focus fishing bar, which helps everybody out. So when you have 6 guardians doing that and you're close to getting the meter full, and then a public event happens, almost all the time I've noticed is only half of those guardians are going to go and do the public event. The other half might be hanging out just because they're like, oh, whatever, or they might leave. And then once the public event is finished and the fishing hole comes back, wherever it comes back to, you can then have maybe 2 guardians starting the fish, and then the others might come back, or some new guardians might show up and take their place. And I think this is because of the fact that focus fishing has been returned to 0. And once a hole is started, guardians that sparrow by might give it a shot, see how low the bar is, and then try to reload this zone, right? Fast travel somewhere and reload an instance of this zone to see if they can find a pond with more guardians, or more guardians and better progression on the focus fishing end. How do you fix this? I'm not sure, but something I think needs to be addressed. Whether it is preserving progress or having progress just be backtracked a little bit, so every time a public event happens, maybe you go back down to the prior, almost like health gating, because it definitely looks like there is a gate for the bar. So if there's gates on the bar, let's health gate it in a sense. So if you're near full bar or a full bar and a public events happen, you go down to that first gate. And that's where you start when the public event is over, and you can build back up from there. I think this would be better than a slow decay because of how fast the EDZ can be done versus how long it's going to take to do the 17th Throne World public events isn't necessarily fair in that regard. And you can have it decay down to 0 by the time you're done with the escort the payload. So I think it just using the gates that are already there on the bar is a good way to do it. That way, if you're got a feisty fishing crew, you can get back up to full and keep that bar 2/3 of the way all the time. Otherwise, it could fall apart and eventually reset down to 0. But regardless, I think it needs to be addressed. If they don't want to do that and they want to reset every time, then at least allow, and I'm not sure if this does happen, but I haven't seen any progress made with rare fish, but allow rare fish to give a minuscule amount of progress. That way, if you have 4 guardians and they've caught, 3 rare fish a pop, you can at least start to see the bar filling up and helping you out, and then maybe helping you get to those legendary fish and starting to get the bar to make real progress. And if you get an exotic fish to drop, it should be a whole decent chunk of progress made, more than what it is. But in any case, I'm just looking at the fact that it is a balancing act. I understand that they probably don't want to just have that bar fill too fast and kind of take the quote-unquote challenge out of it, although there is no challenge in this fishing, so I don't know. But that's the clunky nature of it, really. It's how the pond interacts with public events because of the focus fishing meter, which is a part of doing this seasonal upgrade stuff, and also is going to assist guardians in getting the fish, right? But outside of that, honestly, I know it sounds like, man, it sounds awful. It's really not. It's zero brain required. It makes a very clear audible tell and a visual tell when your bobber sinks. So as long as you're vaguely paying attention, you can hit your use button again and get that fish, and then pick it up and move on from there. So really not that bad. Just I think a little bit of tweaking can help this maintain people's interest for longer and help keep fishing groups going for longer, not just falling apart after every public event, if that matters to anybody. Just some food for thought, really. In any case, this video will finish up with some helm action. It's not all fishing. I have to, I don't, too much of a good thing, right? We don't want that. So what I tend to do anyway is I tend to fish down to zero bait and then go to the helm anyway. The only time I won't do this, which only happened like once, is if the bar looks like it's about full. Although I only am 3 out of 25, so I really haven't gotten a full bar progress to happen, really. I'm sure some Guardians have, but I just haven't been lucky enough for that. In any case, you deposit the fish. You deposit them in rarity order with exotics, then legendaries, then the rest. Exotics, I think it deposits one at a time. I've only ever had one exotic fish, so I don't know. It deposits 5 legendary fish at a time, and it deposits the rest all at once. So common, uncommon, net you rep. Legendary fish, or I should say common, uncommon, and rare fish net you rep. Legendary fish gives you some rep and some legendary gear, and exotic fish gives you rep and exotic stuff. So that's pretty cool. Which is why I think it's great for newer lights to kind of do that and see how it can assist them in some way, whether it's rank ups or whether it's the actual gear. I think it'll be helpful for a newer light regardless, and established lights too. So with that said, I do like the aquarium concept and all of that. It's not really, it's not awful or anything. It's just one of those things that is a little awkward right now, and they might get polished with it, or we just might get used to it and it might become no thing later on. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. Hit that subscribe button to be part of future conversations more easily if you desire. I'll try to make them all as riveting as fishing. And until next time, Guardians, stay frosty.